we got Eric Sauve. He's gonna do a talk on PVA. Oh, sorry,
No.
Eric, on AI Builder.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the schedule and I'm speaking about the future.
Exactly.
Sorry about that. Well,
No problem.
Eric, like I said in the beginning of Nick's session, it's so cool to do this together. Better yet, when we can call each other's friends, right? There's a lot of hate outside of in the world already, so we get to run these events together with people that we love. So it's my brother right here for you, Eric. Take it away.
Thanks,
Run the
brother.
show, man.
Thanks, brother. So much. So yeah, I've lost my car. It ain't a Ferrari, but please help me find it using AI Builder in this case. So about me, quickly, you can follow me in different streams, social medias, and whatnot through the Z Power Diver tag. I'm the Power Platform practice lead at XR Envision, based out of Montreal, Quebec. What I like to do is going sea diving. So it's been a little while because of that pandemic, so we can't travel. But when I'm able to travel, I do appreciate go sea diving. So in the meantime, I do motorcycle, but as we're heading into winter, that's going to be a halt for death. And how do I get through this? It's with families like just the people we just talked with, like Nick and Victor are people I consider friends and family. I'm a grandfather. And when do I work on this? Always. People know me, like any time of the day and night, I'm pretty much here. So, Canadian fun fact, and this is pretty nice, Victor, the idea of trying to find those fun facts. And so far, I've liked the two first ones we got. Mine is a question to you. Is caribou a moose? Some people might say, a caribou is a moose. Well, in fact, it ain't. Caribou can actually live in much colder temperature compared to the moose. They're not in the same family. See, caribous are more like reindeer, in the reindeer type of family. And what they eat, caribou are omnivores, while the moose is mostly and always herbivore. So, and in terms of size, it's quite different. And yes, they're delicious. Is caribou a drink? Well, yes, it is.
Oh.
So if you come in Quebec, especially during our carnival, like the Mardi Gras type carnival, this is a very special drink we like to serve. It's usually served warm like in iced glasses, and you get a bit of an idea of the recipe here, but there's all different switch of this ones, but most of all, sherry, brandy, vodka, and brandy. Whiskey and brandy. I missed that one, but you get the idea. But yes, it is very dangerous. And I think my oldest daughter was actually a caribou story. Oh, okay. So today, what are we learning? What are we going through? The objectives. What I want you to walk out of this session with. I want you to know what is AI Builder and how it can help your organization. In this particular session, I want you to know how to use the text recognition, which is one of the different models or scenario you can use in AI Builder, and kind of understand differences, because I'm going to be demonstrating different approach on using this through Power Automate and Power Apps, so to kind of understand the difference between the two. So I'm going to go through an AI Builder overview, what it's about, where it comes about, what are different types of models. Then we'll get through the more specific text recognition. We'll look at the use case, which is, I've lost my car, please help me find it. And we'll go through demo, and actually, depending on the time, normally we should be able to actually build part of the app through there and then go through Q&A. So what is AI Builder and where does it come about? Usual stack, like if you've been in any of those Power Platform sessions, you've seen different flavor of this one. But the idea here is AI Builder is one of those services that is at the base of the platform. It's one of those tools that is in the same philosophy as the different tools. So either it be Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, or Power Virtual Agent. Those are tools where we want, or Microsoft wants to provide a low code or a platform where more people can actually build solutions for their organization without necessarily depending on IT. But at the same time, not facing limitations of those tools and having ways to extend and go beyond the limitations that it might provide. So allowing the pro developers to actually make better solutions or greater solutions, or go and do more calculations or more validations or whatever is required on the other side. All built on the, oh, no more common data service again, Dataverse. And AI Builder is one of those services, and the point is AI Builder is built on in the same philosophy as the rest. For me, this represents the essence of what the platform is about. Getting some of those users that are not the usual or the typical app builder being champions and having impact with their colleagues, being like the new hero in the department. I've built this solution that helps us resolve that problem we've had, and be heroes in their company. And they are the best champions for this Power Platform. So, AI Builder, why? I've used this analogy a few times, and I think a lot of people kind of are able to relate to it, and they appreciate what it represents. When we look at this, it's like, you have this very precise engine for a racing car, and the people who are working on it, they need to have the right skills. And consider if you need to implement any kind of machine learning or artificial intelligence process in your business. If you don't have something like the Power Platform and AI Builder, you might have to go through Azure Cognitive Services or other data analysis processes, and you'll need technicians and scientists that know how to structure that data, that know how to integrate with those APIs, and know how to build those recognitions tools and so on. So you'll need much more skilled people. And depending on the size of your organization, depending on the type of organization where you want to focus on, you may not have access to these type of people. So just like building apps with Power Apps, we want to have people, business-focused people, give them the ability to use tools and implement machine learning and AI in their organization. So that would be through AI Builder. The AI Builder is about changing processes, moving from paper-based process to digital processes, for example. So moving from an old way of doing things to a new way of doing things that is frictionless as much as possible. And the point is being proactive, because if you spend most of your time in keying in data or processing, doing analysis of your sales or your trends and stuff like that, and trying to determine the trends yourself, that time you won't apply it on being proactive towards your customers, being proactive towards the different processes that could be just frictionless and be done automatically. So if you use tools like AI Builder, it eliminates that manual process or that tedious analysis process, and allows you to be focusing forward. And instead of reacting on issues, you're being proactive, and you'd lower down like customer churn and things like that. So what is it composed of? There are two types of model. The first one, custom models. And that's like, the analogy that I use here is like changing a tire. So if we look back at the initial part where you have this engine with lots of people, very specialized people working on the engine that you might not be able to do yourself. Changing a tire, that's accessible for most people. I'm able to change a tire. I change my tires on my car, and I don't need to have this big training and big knowledge. I've been shown how to do it, and I can do it. But I do get my hands dirty, so I need to be a bit techy and get on it, but it's very accessible. So that's what, for me, custom models are about. So the idea here is you will build that model based on historical data. So either it be data that you've like historical of sales, historical of how successful your shipments have been, historical of different forms, invoices that you've processed, things like that. You need good historical data. From there, you will train your model. So you have that historical data, you process it through, that trains the model, and from there, you'll use it and store it in the Dataverse universe. Dataverse universe. Yeah, that's funny. And then the second one is about pre-built models. And text recognition is one of those pre-built models. These are just like up into the car and drive off. So you use them in Power Apps through components or in Power Automate flows through actions. They're all ready to use. Nothing to do. It's just there. You up, off, drive. So instead of being based on historical data, these are built on either industry or Microsoft quote unquote intelligence. So their own set of historical data. Here we have the whole current stack of either the custom model, so category classification, entity extraction, mostly about doing analysis on text. So it could be about processing emails, tweets, documents. You'll get to process those, do form processing. Yesterday I did a presentation where I was doing form processing of invoices, for example. So instead of manually keying the data from invoices, you get through that model, and boom, you update your Dataverse database. Object detection, so doing inventory, viewing, announcing like faults on the different items, and then prediction. You have a good history of shipping your goods to your customers, and then you have the level of complaints that you get because of later arrivals or things like that, because items are arriving later than expected, and you can detect a pattern, and from there do a prediction on the new sales that are coming in, and maybe upgrading the service. So instead of sending this through standard ground service, you can send these through express service, because maybe it's more valuable for having a customer that is satisfied versus the cost saving of the shipment. And then different types of pre-built models that you can just go off and build your app or flows, depending on the different scenarios that we have. The one we'll be working on today is the text recognition. So what is it about text recognition? It's like what we used to call OCR. We're extracting words from documents and images, either it be printed text or handwritten text. Supporting different languages, and the data type you have here, the file types, JPEG, MPEG, BMP, so images, files, or PDF, but maximum 20 megabyte size. And from there, you'll get a series of output. So it processes the image, and then you get a result back. And what you get there is a list of lines that has been extracted from that image with the information about the text and what we call the bounding box. So within that image, where is that located? What's the size of it? And that's what we'll work with to build that license plate reader. So two places you can use this. One in Power Apps. So there's a component. You have a section about AI Builder, Text Recognizer. You just pop that into your app, your Canvas app, and that's going to work. It's not available on model-driven apps yet. And the other option is going through Power Automate in a flow. You just use directly a recognized text in an image action and just push the image in there and use the result back. Those are the two ways to integrate this. Some best practices, very easy for this one. First is use clear and high contrast images. If you have something that is low contrast, it's complex, it has a complex background, or it's blurry, there's like glare, things like that, you're gonna have trouble. It's gonna have trouble recognizing the details. If possible, try to use single column documents versus multiple columns. And here it's really we're saying best practices, but it's more about when the text recognition will be most efficient, will be more will have the best results for you. Because it will work in some cases with this. It will work in some cases with this. But the best performance will be if it's a single column, high contrast image. So the use case today. Where's my car? I've lost it. You know, with the pandemic, I haven't gone to a shopping mall for a while, and I didn't remember where I parked it, and my hands are full, and I can't find my car. Can you help me find it? The point here is we'll build an app that allows to do license plate reading, so recognition of license plate, so it will recognize the text in on the license plate, and you could then make sure and validate if it's the good one based on the one that I provided you, type of thing. It's a fun scenario in this case, but really it could be used in parking lot inventory management, or validation of employee cars, making sure that people in the parking lot have the right to be there, or things like that. This is this license plate scenario, but you could apply this whole text recognition scenario for different uses. So the challenge is here, if we look at this license plate, and I went for an Ontario plate, the Queensland or Queens province. If I process the text recognition on this license plate, here's what happens is you'll get sections of that image that is being detected as text. So Ontario, BYTR, yours to discover, 741, December 6th, and all this stuff. And you get a whole, I was talking about the results, you get a whole set, big like JSON type schema of what it's about. If you're in the flow or in the power domain, you'll get it as an object. But bottom line is you get a big structure, and you need to understand and understand it, and only look at what's the biggest part. So that's my way of addressing this is, okay, I get a bunch of text, but within the image, within the recognized text, normally the license plate number should be whatever is the biggest in that image. So if we look here, BYTR is really much larger than Ontario and yours to discover. And I have the information here. So I have the height of each bounding box. So I get a pretty good idea of what is the biggest part, and that's what we'll work on to build this app. So the process, like I say, moving from this one, the BYTR and the old plate with the different parts, getting this text out. So we get through that result, loop through the different items, see about each item, do the analysis. Is this the biggest part? So is this the largest, or the one that has the biggest height? And from there, if it's good, we'll add this result to the overall, and we'll do like a concatenation of the result to get this app rolling. That's a bit of the process that goes through there. So one way to address this, and this actually is the first version. So I did deliver out a license plate reader app a little while ago, and this app back then, the recognizer component in Canvas app was not providing the bounding box information. So for me to work around this, what I was doing is update a CDS entity, put in that license plate information in there, like the image in that CDS entity. I have a flow that gets triggered, and in this flow, I would do the whole analysis, update back the entity with the detected text and a flag saying, okay, the flow is done. Now in the app, there would be like a timer running around, and whenever this becomes updated properly, it would display the license plate number. So that was the first scenario when the component was not giving me that detailed information. I'm showing it just so you understand the process of how we can work this through a flow. But now we don't need to do this. If you use this in a Canvas app, we don't need to do it. We just process it directly in the app by sorting the data, doing for all operations in there, filtering that, and then doing a concat operation. But we'll walk through all the details of that together. Demo time. So within the Power Apps environment, you have a section here about AI Builder. You go in the build, and you have the different scenarios. And if you go into text recognition, for example, you can go directly and say, I want to use this in the flow, use this in an app, and it will just go and directly create that flow through a template or create an app with that component. So if I say using the flow, just so you see the process, it brings you to what are the different templates existing, and then you could say I want to do this one. It's going to confirm connections if needed. And from there, you'll get a sample of a flow where if I just run this, it's going to go through get the image, process through it, and provide the result back. So that's the template. Now, if we go in the app, so in the Canvas app, in my scenario where I'm having an app, so here what I'm doing is I'm allowing to select license plate. And the control here, what happens is it goes out in the background and actually goes and stores this in, I've kept this open. So I have my entity here, a table, sorry. We'll get used to this. Remember the time where we changed from Flow, Microsoft Flow to Power Animate or things like that. So it's just an entry. I push the image in here, and what happens is there's like a flag. Is it processed by the flow or not? So when the flow has done its processing, like in this case, and consider that it's taking about more or less 10 seconds, it updates back the entity, and here I have the return of that flow or what's being put in the entity. Okay. So if we go and look at how was this done in this flow. So on the creation of that license plate row, I just go and get the image file, and then I process. And this is the old, because I didn't come and rewrite this one, but this is the old predict action. Because back then, there was no such AI builder section here where I could just have used the process text. Recognize text in an image, where I would just here push in the image that I've used here. It's okay, the base 64 here. I could just push it the image here, which is the one coming from the previous step. So I could just process it through it and then do the result, because I wouldn't have to do the JSON. I would just use the result from this one and then go through, but I won't redo this one. But what happens here is from this one, I just initialize my plate number variable and just keep the flag about what's the biggest height. So once I loop through the results here, so these are the results from that JSON. Once I loop through these, I just look at, was this the biggest so far that I've come across? And if so, well, if it's too small, I just either go through it and append to the plate number, or ignore it, or so on. So it's just to give you a way of working through that result in the flow, but really where we'll have more fun is in the actual app. So that's this one. Sorry, I could actually just go directly. So the other one that I'm upgraded and updated version, the V2. This one I directly use the text recognition recognizer component. I add my image. So we'll go and go through that license plate number again. And from there, it just, see, it's much faster. So if we just go back to the other one, if you see about the delay that it can take, my back doesn't work. Okay, no problem. Let's go here. Change this image. So just look at the time that this is going to take. So if this updates the entity, when the entity record is created, the flow starts, goes through the process, more or less 10 seconds to process it, updates back the entity. And here I have a timer that goes through and goes and fetch that record and see, has this been processed by flow? So did that flag update? So you see, like that took more than 10 seconds overall. While if I go here, and I just process this again directly, just the time, and boom, it's there. Much more instantaneous. And in terms of licensing, I'll cover that just after Catherine, no problem. So, so that's the one. And here I have a slider just to kind of show you an example of what's the percentage. If I play around with the percentage of what's the text that I recognize, if I just go a bit lower, here you see it starts adding South Dakota as the number, and then all the rest of the stuff. So you can get, considering license plate, you can almost be at 50%, and usually you're pretty good to get the actual license plate number. Let's do this together now. And I'll walk you through the process of how this is being done. So first part, we go and insert the text recognizer component. Let's put that here. And we'll do the first thing is we'll process an image. So just so you see what we get in terms of result. So let's put this one. So the component here just processes the image, and you can see the different items that are being selected. So just an example here, I could just add a label. Just put the text in white. And I can work with the results of that recognizer 2. So just imagine I could have a tool that allows me to actually let users select parts that are valid. So that could make sense in a different type of scenario where I actually let the user say, okay, scan this image and tell me what you want to keep in terms of information. So they could go out and select the different items, and you could store that information. That's one way to look at it. But let me show you what the results are. So let's just do a clear collect on this one. Let's look at what data that we get from that text recognizer. oops, better give it a collection name. Okay, so here what I do is take those results, put them into a collection. So if I go here, look at this collection. Okay, so I have different rows. So I see here South Dakota, SD, the number, place. So I have the different lines that were detected. And then I have the actual bounding box. So what is the information about the height? What's its position? What's the width? So I get the box around this. That's kind of okay, but the problem is if I want to start to work with this since, oops, go back here. Since this is a record within a collection here, like it's harder to work with if I want to start filtering and sort based on the height and things like that. So I'll do just a quick operation of, okay, let's, instead of doing a clear collect like this, let's change this and do a, actually, let's go here. We'll do it for all. So for all the records in the text recognizer, so what we want to do is structure that information. So, oops, it's this one. So we want to structure the information in a single line. So first one, we want the text. So we can call it result text. And it's the text field from that record. And then the page number, because you could have multiple pages. So let's just pick it up. Page number. And this is the actual page number. That one. And then let's get the X position. And that is the, within that bounding box, we should have a left. And then do the Y position. And what will these will allow me is to kind of work in within that license plate, go vertically and then horizontally about what's where. So bounding box that in this case it's the top. And then what we need to know in terms of size is the height. So box. That's my for all. No, actually, I have to close this table and the for all and call test. So if I press my button again and I go and look at my collection, how does it look like? Okay, much easier to work with, I think, right? So we have the information in a single line matter. So I go back here. Fine, so I have the list. So let's just have fun and display as a gallery next to it. Let's change this just to these. Should have put this in the landscape mode. Okay, so let's just change all this through white. We'll get the data. And in terms of what its source, let's use our collection. Call test. Boom. And the actual fields, we'll put the here, let's put the height. The second one, let's put the, let's say the Y position. And this one, the result text, yeah, that's good. Okay, so here we have the gallery where we see all that information we have in the collection. We can scroll through them and get that information. So it's much more workable, let's say. So from here, what I could do is sort those. So let's sort, because what I want is what's the biggest numbers, like what are the biggest ones. So I'll sort this out, and what I want to do, or actually, yeah, let's sort this out by height. You know what? Let's sort these by how they're positioned. Oh yeah, because if we want to append these one after the other, let's position them as items from the first page to the last page, and then from the top to the top to bottom, and left and right. So you'll use that call test, and let's use the page number. Then the let's go ascending. So this one, and let's do with the vertical position, Y position, ascending 2, and then the X position. X position, that sounds funny. Here, like this. So we have the items from top to bottom. So South Dakota, the number here, and you see places higher than Great Places. So we get the items from top to bottom. Okay, cool. Now, what I want to know also, so this provides me the list of what are the items from top to bottom, and work through that. Now, the other thing I wanted to get is, and I have my label here. Let's put another label here of, oops, not this one here. It's in white. What I want is, what's the biggest number in there? So I can use this collection again, but this time what I want to do is give me the first, when I sort the collection, so I'll call test, but this time based on the height. Yeah, height here. Height. And this time it's ascending because I want the biggest one first. And start by column. And I want to get the first. And what I want is the actual result text. Boom, here we have the result. So just quickly here, through this little manipulation, and I'm doing it into multiple steps, what I get is what's the biggest text in this license plate in this series of results. Going through the steps. So this kind of explains you like the different operations that I've done. And we can all do this in a single fashion, which would be assembling all those different parts of sorting, filtering, and so on. And at the end, because in cases, okay, let me actually show you another example with another license plate, is sometimes the numbers could be in separate fields. And if I stick with this option, what will happen is I'll only, actually, let me pick up another one. There's like another version that, yeah, this one, that picks up these in different parts. So it's going to pick up the, yeah, so this one picked up. So if I process through this, you see here, if I only select the biggest part, I only get 741 because this is the one that has the, if we compare here, come on, scroll. Okay, my scroll doesn't work well. Okay, whatever. So the 741 is just a bit higher than the BYTR. So it happened to be just being selected. So we need to, the next step is concatenate whatever are the biggest parts within there together, because we want, in this case, BYTR and 741 to be together. So the process here is, here I have the one that is the biggest. So what we could do is actually get the height of that one, HT. Get the height. So what's the height in percentage of this one? And use this as a factor to filter again my, actually use the concatenate part. So I move this up. I'll just put in their label. And what I'll do here is do a concatenate of my collection. And what I want is if the height is so the ones I want to use is actually Sephora. Sorry. Yeah, no, sorry. Yeah. So I want to do is for all the results. So I do have the collection here. So yes, sorry. So concatenate in the call test. What I want here is evaluate that the height for this one is, let's say, greater and equal than that label. That label here, the value of this label is label 2. And just do spaces on this one. What did I do? Separator expression. Actually, no, sorry. Let me go back and I'm doing it live here. And how did I do it here? I'll just expand it. So what we have here is just the result of this one in a single script. So what I have here is I have my for all. So this is changing my results into a single line collection, equivalent to a collection. I'm sorting these by display within the image. And what I want to do is filter those. Yeah, that's the part I was missing. So I want to filter this result. So here I get the list of license plate or text recognized, and it's sorted by position in the image. And here I want to do is filter the ones. So I only want the ones that the height is greater than or equal to that label that we have defined. So that is the first when I sort the same list. So here I'm sorting the same list by height. So what's the biggest one? So whatever is greater or equal than that. And here what I'm doing is I'm applying a factor of that sliding ratio. So that could be a fixed number. But just so I wanted this to be interactive is this slider, which is the percentage that I want to apply. And finally, what I'm doing is out of this table that I get, so what are the biggest parts? I want the text portion, so the text field, and just concatenate that with spaces. So if we go back quickly to that other screen, the step where I was here was a filter actually of this one, where height is table here. And what I want is result text. Here, label to the text. Probably have to do like a, was it a value or I can't remember how to change it to a number. Like this. Value, and here because it's just greater or equal than this one, what I want to add is a factor to this. So just a multiplier, multiply by 0.5, and boom, you see here, BYTR741. So I just showed, and you know, the way I've done it is just added the slider, not a button here, slider that goes from 0 to 100, and just apply this here instead of 0.5. I use that slider 1 divided by 100. So I go here, and you see my text here changes. So one single script can do it instead of going through that whole Power Automate flow. So once again, quickly, just pick the image. And it just takes the time for the actual component to process it, and we'll get the result right away, no delay. And down to Q&A, and I think I've seen a question about licensing. Catherine, so how does the licensing work for AI Builder? Here's the story, and I've put the link at the end, but let me just pull this over. So the licensing for AI Builder is a what we call a capacity add-on type of licensing, and it's a monthly fee of $500 US in this case, and it gives you a certain number of units. And the way you use those units depends on the actual scenario that you use, and the best way to understand what it is going through this calculator and see, in your case, how many units of AI Builder or how many capacity add-on do you require. So if we only look through the text recognition, it's 40,000 text recognition that you get for that 1 unit. But if I go to N1 and I calculate, boom, I go to 2 units. So, it's a matter of seeing what makes sense for you. Of course, depending on the scenario, it's always good to see what's the business value of that scenario you're implementing. But like, for example, yesterday we were looking at invoice processing. So instead of having someone, a clerk, entering the invoice information one by one, we were just processing those through the form processor. And just consider the time saving. The $500 a month is nothing in that case. So I hope that answers your question, Catherine. Any other questions around?
Eric, somebody had a comment on your show with Mark Smith. Probably they really loved it, so I thought I would just bring it up.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's kind of funny, that show, that before I got, because I got my MVP award at the turn of the year this year, and before that I did listen to many of those podcasts, such as the MVP show from Mark Smith, and it was kind of a fun experience to actually be part of it now. So yeah, I like that. So you've got all the links here, and we'll push this session deck is actually available on my GitHub, and the same for the actual application that I've demonstrated to you is available also on my GitHub, and it actually has you get the 2 versions, or the full app with the 2 versions in there. So you get the Read Screener version 1 and Read Screener version 2 in there. Get the whole solution. That's it. And then if there's nothing else, please don't forget to fill out the survey. And thanks so much for Victor organizing this. And I'm really anxious to see the next session with Haniel, my good friend from Ontario. Haniel is going to be talking about the newest RPA solution with automation, right?
Eric, I got a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the demo was incredible, and some of the folks, I'm not sure if they follow all the steps, but if there is anybody in this channel that's starting within the AI Builder journey, do you have any suggestion as to how they can get started, how they can find education materials and things like that?
Well, one of the great area is in that make.powerapps.com. Within AI Builder section, there's a Get Started with AI Builder part that is there. Different learning, so that's all free on the Microsoft site. And also, like for invoice processing, if you look in the, let me just try to find it, but there's a template that is available, a whole toolkit that is available on the marketplace from Microsoft. So I'll just try to find it again and get it to you. I'll paste the link in there.
I think I'm muted. I think it's the one of the most repeated phrases of 2020. No, really appreciate you taking the time, making yourself available, and kind of teaching us this stuff. It's one of the areas I feel like in the Power Platform that's not I shouldn't say well documented, but not as doesn't have as much material as the other areas. So it's always great to see it, hands-on demo and in-depth explanation of how things work. So much appreciated.
Yeah, it's I've been kind of playing around and working with the whole AI Builder suite for almost well, ever since most of it in inception, before it was even called AI Builder. I've been involved with the product team a lot with the prediction parts and form processing and so on. So if ever you have questions or concerns or issues or anything, just reach out to me and I'll definitely help out, because it is it is a challenge sometimes to determine the value, and it's always good to look into what the value is for your organization, your business. But and sometimes people just go in an easy way of comparing with, let's say I go directly with Azure and cognitive services, and the cost is not the same, because on Azure it's based on consumptions. Everything's it's consumption based, so it's you pay as you go along type of thing. Versus AI Builder, it's like you fill up your car and you drive off. You have your fuel tank.
Yeah.
It's all filled up. It's not consume as you go. It's like you have your own, you buy for a full tank, and that's what you get. So even if you only use part of it, well, you've paid for the full tank for the month, for example. So it can be challenging, but it's much more accessible. Going back to the Power Platform level, the AI Builder set of solution is way more accessible than trying to work with Azure Cognitive Services.
It is indeed. It's the same story for most of the products in the platform. It's easy to get started. I mean, I remember probably 2-3 years ago when they were bringing AI into Dynamics sales. Like the next sale, best offer, and things like that. And if you look at the scripting for prediction, it was just insane. If you had to tweak, if you had to make it your own, it was just a lot of work. So yeah, I do understand that the consumption model, it may be challenge for a few companies, but in the end, though, you're gonna pay, right?
Yeah,
It's a
exactly.
matter of whether you pay ahead of time or after consumption, and that's yeah. If you're using AI, I don't see the $500 as a challenge, depending on how much you're using. But I know that companies have their own budgets and such. But yeah, well. Thank you very much. Let me get ready for Haniel.
Adios.